What's going on, guys? Sam Richards, Isolation Movement here, and today we're going to be talking about 7 reasons why you should stay natural. But about me, I'm an amateur classic physique competitor. I've been training for around 7 years now, and about 5 of those were natural. So, look, I've got a bit of experience on both sides of the field, and these are the reasons why you should probably stay away from the enhanced lifestyle. Look, just first of all, before we get into it, I'm not some kind of anti-drugs campaigner. I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to do something, because, let's face it, that would make me a hypocrite. But what I am here to say is that there are certain signs that you're probably not ready, or you probably should stay away from certain things, and this is just sort of a common sense test. I'm not telling you to do anything. Talk to your doctor, it's your decision, don't do anything illegal in your country, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not those, do you remember those people who used to come into school? And I think they were called DARE, Drugs, Alcohol Resistance Education or something like that. And they used to tell you some kind of story about how he had a cigarette once and he like threw up and passed out and he had to be taken to, like, those kind of things are you problems, not problems with the drug necessarily. So this maybe will point out some of those you problems that you might not be willing to face. So let's jump into it. The 7 reasons why you should be staying natural. And look, this is all just from my point of view, all things that to me come across as warning signs. So one would be that you're set in your ways and your belief systems. Now, back when I started this YouTube channel, I was a devout follower of certain YouTubers and bodybuilders, and I believed that they honestly provided the best information. But what you quickly learn is that you tend to be attracted towards people who provide the information that most relates to you or most relates to your ideology or your thinking. And this can be dangerous in bodybuilding because it's so subjective and you really have to learn your own body. When you suddenly become enhanced, your body changes at a rate of pace that you've never seen before, and what that can do is it can really shock you. It can really show up all your failings, and if you're failing on diet, if you're failing on the way that you train, the amount of recovery time that you're giving yourself, your body will show you and tell you, and you won't yield the results that everybody else is yielding on their first cycles because they're playing by the rule book. They're asking the community, the senior members of the sort of enhanced bodybuilding community, the right questions. So if you're not willing to change and adapt your mindset, then don't expect your body to change or adapt at the level you want it to. Now, reason number 2 is pretty simple. That's bad blood results. So the one thing I'd recommend anyone to do before you jump into a cycle, simply to have a reference point for how well you recover if you plan to cycle off, and also to have a reference point for your blood markers and how healthy you are in general. If those blood test results come back and say your liver enzymes are highly elevated, your cholesterol's terrible, and maybe you've got really strong natural testosterone, there may be things that you want to bear in mind when you're making the decision as to whether you were to become an enhanced bodybuilder. If you're unhealthy and your liver enzymes or organs are showing up, in the red, then I'd really suggest addressing that before you consider jumping into anything, because you need to start off with the best possible health point, because anabolics will only ever make things worse. The natural testosterone point that I make is that if you have really high natural testosterone, the benefits of you jumping on cycle are relatively low if you're young. Even if you're older and you have high natural testosterone, you will have that impacted by jumping on anabolics, and your recovery may only be 60-70% of what it was originally naturally. So you want to bear this in mind, and if you don't think that you can commit to that lifestyle going forward, then I'd recommend preserving your natural testosterone levels as much as possible. Now, the third reason for you to stay natural is simple. It's that you're under 25. Now, there are reasons behind this. I know a lot of people just say it blankly to young people looking to start, but truth of the matter is your brain doesn't finish really developing until around the age of 25. So development can still be impaired by introducing anabolic steroids, and likely would be, given a lot of compounds sort of impact on your mental state, such as trenbolone, for example. Another reason is simply due to the fact that your natural testosterone levels and your hormones are only just really developed. So why would you want to go on cycle, crush those, and not see through your natural potential, given the fact that by 25, being close to your natural limit, it's pretty implausible. So reason number 4 is one that I hear more than I'd really like to admit. It's that people are not gaining naturally. So a lot of people say, well, my gains have slowed down completely. I've reached my genetic limit. Sorry. It's often like 19-year-olds who say this, and I don't think they quite realise. Like, there are plenty of natural bodybuilders who show how long it took them to get to a competitive standpoint before they went pro and, then jumped on cycle. And it's just, it's quite hilarious to think that you think as a 19-year-old who's probably lifting like curling 10 kilos, you've reached your genetic potential. But what's actually happening here is that either you're not eating enough and your diet isn't right, and I'm sorry, but that's very likely, or that you're training too hard. Check my last video about, an optimal training structure for building muscle. It's just my input, my favourite form of training, and what's worked for me. But the odds are that your diet and training are probably off, and you need to do something about that. Now, for me, this one is almost as much of a big deal as the last one. And so number 5 is that you don't have your own source. Now, I'm not talking about sourcing here before YouTube comes along and just blocks this video off the face of social media. What I'm talking about here is that, so a lot of people make this mistake. Okay, they've got lifting buddies who maybe are on gear, or they think they've got lifting buddies who they just met recently and they're actually just drug dealers. And what happens is that they go, oh, I'll tell you what, you need to jump on this and that and that and that, and here's what I'm doing, and, get in on basically the cycle. And so they'll obviously sell you some stuff. Often what this is just guys who are trying to offload some surplus stuff, or it's, just a friend of a friend who can give you a hookup. The problem is that people rely far too much on these people for information, and you see a lot of people who are like, oh, I've got given this Trembolone stuff, what is it? I've been injecting 500 milligrams a week for the last 2 weeks, and it's like, dude, calm down, like, chill, and maybe read the wiki. But that's the problem. Like, if you're trusting these people for information, you don't do your own research, you don't get to know these things, and you just jump into these decisions, you're more likely to fall proud to people who are looking to actually take advantage of you and your lack of knowledge, and you're more likely to fuck your body up, you're more likely not to have PCT, and without your own reliable sort of independent method of accessing these things, whether it be through your doctor or whatever, then you're not going to be able to have a full spectrum of solutions for all the issues you can face on cycle, and you're probably not going to have the healthiest design cycle. A lot of people like to push people towards orals because they see them as safer and healthier, even though in reality 99% of the community knows they are the most dangerous way to take anabolics. Point number 6 as to why you should stay natural is that you don't have access to ancillaries. Now, this can come under the last point, I suppose, but it's one that's worth emphasising on its own. If you don't have the right on-cycle therapy, such as aromatase inhibitors, stuff like Nolvadex or Letro, whatever you might need if you had side effects of that kind, Cabra if you're taking 19 NORs, and you don't have the right PCT, so you don't have access to both Clomid and Nolva in case you needed them, and HCG, all those kind of things. If you don't have access to those, then your experience is going to be horrible. You might have an okay-ish cycle, but afterwards, you're going to have maybe a year for your natural testosterone to come back unless you're really quick at bouncing back. On cycle, your health will be all over the place. You'll probably get gyno or some other side effect. And generally, that's where the nightmare horror stories come from, is where people aren't prepared. They don't have all the information. They don't have everything on hand just in case. They wait to order it maybe if something comes up. And they're like, well, I got gyno from just doing this, so it's not worth doing. Not quite accurate. That's, again, a you problem. Last but definitely not least is point number 7, the big overriding reason why you should stay natural, and that is longevity and health. Above a certain point, you're working out and gaining muscle and getting bigger for the sake of pretty much just the other gym bros, the people in the gym, your friends, or whatever it might be. Women really don't care too much above a certain level unless they've got some kind of fetish with, larger guys, bodybuilders, which is quite rare anyway. And unless you have an overriding goal like being an IFBB pro, being a pro powerlifter, whatever it might be, and you're dedicated enough to that to actually get all these things right that I mentioned in this video, which you should do if you've got the goal of being a professional, whatever you're doing one day. Then if you don't have that, what's the point? Why not just being 180, 190, 200 pound fairly lean guy who can go out and pull women, and you've got great natural testosterone levels, you're not having to pin yourself even just for TRT, and you don't have to worry about all this stuff. It's a stress, and it's not as romanticized as you might think it is when you see just massive guys walking around. It's a pain. You end up with a lot of issues with your body, whether it's just aches and pains or whether it's something more serious, and you're playing dice with your organs' capacity for stress. It's and if you're not dedicated as well, you're more likely to make cock-ups like going out drinking, getting fucked up and screwing your lipids up that way anyway. So the point is, there are many good reasons to stay natural. If you're not able to get the things on this list right, you probably shouldn't become an enhanced bodybuilder. It's just my opinion, though. You should speak to your doctor, of course, and make your own mind up. It's your life, your body, not mine. But thanks very much for coming back, guys. I'll be running new videos all this week, and like and subscribe for more content. Welcome back to the Isolation Movement.